Hi everyone, hello. This is Debbie Skyrme, and I'm Celebrant Spain because I am a celebrant in Spain. Now, just while everybody catches up with the fact that I'm going live, I'm just going to pop onto my laptop and make sure that that is all going through. Yes, it is. Good, cool. So I can see you and you can see me, and hopefully you can hear me too. So if you can hear me, please give me a little thumbs up, and then I'll know that I'm all good to go. So I can see, yay, I can see a little heart there. Thank you so much. So thank you very much to Nikita for introducing me earlier today. And yes, I am in Spain. I'm in southern Spain. So I'm where the Costa del Sol meets the Costa Tropical. So if you think of southern Spain and you usually fly into Malaga airport, come out of the airport, turn left as you're facing the sea, and I'm an hour down the road. So I'm perfectly placed for Malaga airport and for Granada airport, which is only an hour away as well. So I've got the benefit of the beautiful costas here, the beautiful beaches and the sunshine. And we also have the Sierra Nevada. So the Sierra Nevada is the mountain system here, and it's got the longest ski season in Europe. Yes, that is here, right here in Spain. So you really can ski in the morning and then come down onto the beach in the afternoon and sunbathe. It's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful here. So I can see a few people jumping on now, so that's lovely. So I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm Debbie Skyrme, and I am Celebrant Spain. So I am a wedding officiant, and I most often officiate destination weddings. So these are for couples that are coming over from the UK, from Ireland, from Australia, Canada, America, all over the world to have their beautiful ceremony here in our Spanish sunshine. Now, obviously this year has been a little bit different. This year has been tricky. I should have had 40 ceremonies during this year, and unfortunately a lot of those have been rescheduled into next year. And I think the big trend is going to be for elopements and for micro weddings for a number of reasons, but there are huge benefits to having a scaled down wedding, and that's what I'd like to chat to you about today. Now, first of all, you need to understand that there is a difference between your marriage and your wedding. So I know this because I was a registrar. I was a registrar in the UK, Deputy Superintendent Registrar, and also a Deputy Registrar. I held both posts. So there is a difference, hand on heart, between your marriage and your wedding. Both are valid, but only the marriage is the legal aspect. The marriage is your legal contract. So when you go to your registrar, you are legally contracting your marriage with them. And you are saying within the UK 40 words plus your names. You're signing an entry of that into the register, and it's witnessed by 2 other people. That in its simplest form is your marriage. It can be as romantic or as unromantic as you want it to be. It can be stripped bare of any ceremony, or it can be inclusive of ceremony. It can be at the register office, or it can be at an approved premises. So your marriage is your legal contract. And as I say, it can be as simple as 40 words plus your names, signing the entry to the register, having that witnessed by 2 people, and Bob's your uncle, you're done. So your wedding is your ceremonial celebration. Now, it could be that if you think to church weddings, for example, a church wedding wraps up the religious ceremony as part of the legal contract, because the church will also hold a register that you will then go in and sign. So it could be that you have a religious ceremony. Or if you are having a registration marriage and you want to have ceremony within that, you can't actually have any religious element at all within your ceremonial aspect of your registration marriage. So you can go to a church and get married and have religious ceremony, but if you go to a register office, you can have some ceremony, but it can't contain any religious aspect. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because you have got another option. You've got the celebrant, ta-da, the wedding officiant. Now, us celebrants are independent. There are 2 different genres, if you like. There is the humanist celebrant, who is of no faith system, which in itself is a faith system, it is a belief system. So that is recognised in Scotland, and they do have legal jurisdiction there. So if you have, I see lots of thumbs up from the humanists, hi guys! So if you do have a humanist ceremony, they won't be including religious elements either within your ceremony. Now, if you opt for an independent celebrant, such as myself, as an independent celebrant, I can include religion, and more than that, I can blend religions too. So it could be that you are of one religious belief and your partner is of another religious belief, or possibly of no religious belief. Well, what an independent celebrant can do is we can blend your ceremony. We can bring aspects from both traditions, both cultural backgrounds, both religious systems. We can bring them into your ceremony, and we can be inclusive, so that both sides of the family, if you like, feel that they are represented within your ceremony. So just to recap, I was a registrar, I'm now an independent celebrant. You can have a legal marriage, and you can also have a wedding ceremony. So your marriage is your legal contract, and your wedding is your ceremonial celebration. You can have the two together, so you can have the marriage surrounded by ceremony, or you can separate them. And this is where I come into it. I'm a destination wedding celebrant. So 90% of the time, I would say, my couples get married in their own country, or actually in Gibraltar, because it's very easy in the British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar to contract a marriage. But most of my couples, they contract their marriage elsewhere, and then they come out to me in Spain for their destination wedding in the sunshine. And yes, it is your real wedding day, because the marriage and the wedding are different. You getting this? Cool, excellent. Okay, so what about elopements? An elopement, historically, is a completely scaled back wedding, or a completely scaled back marriage. It really is just that contractual element. And usually, well, not usually, but historically, an elopement will have been between two people where the families probably were not in favour of them contracting their marriage. So the couple felt that they had to run away to get married. So if you think about an elopement in, I don't know, in a book, I don't know, Charles Dickens or something. I don't even know if Charles Dickens has mentioned the word elopement, but in Victorian times, if they eloped, it would have been to get married, and it would have been a legal contract, but probably without the family's blessing and probably without anybody else knowing. They would have run away to get married. Elopements still exist today, but there's a whole new twist on elopement. I've personally officiated, oh thanks Angela, I've personally officiated a lot of elopements, and quite often it's people that are having a tour of Europe and they have already contracted their marriage, just very simply, and then they want to have some beautiful photographs, perhaps on the beach, at a castle, in a palace. We have some amazing locations here. But more than that, they don't just want the photographs of you in your bridal costumes for the day. They want something that's meaningful and intimate and extremely personal to them. They want their moment in the sunshine. And they're travelling alone, and it is, in effect, an elopement. It's just the couple, the wedding officiant, and a photographer. And these can be real goosebump ceremonies. They are intense. Very, very intense, and there's a certain amount of skill to officiating them. Within a wedding, for example, if you've got 50, 100, 250 people there sitting, watching, wishing you well, you get feedback from the guests there, you say something funny, you hear them laughing. It's a bit like theatre, and you have an audience. So from a celebrant, that's fantastic. You kind of feed off of the power and the energy that's coming and all the love that's surrounding you from the guests. At an elopement, that's completely different. So I have to make sure that the location that I have chosen along with the bridal couple is very, very special, and somewhere that we can make our own for the period of 20-25 minutes of their ceremony. And there are lots of little tips and tricks to doing that. One of them, for example, is a salt ceremony. And you have the salt of the earth, and we go around, and I go to the different 4 points of the compass, north, south, west and east, just paying tribute to the energy of the different points of the compass, and just designating that space as ours, just for that short period of time. And I can make coloured salts if colours are important to you. It could be chakra colours that you want to incorporate into your ceremony. Lots of little things that we can do. But we do make the ceremony our own. The ceremony space on a beach, for example, I can get some coloured sand so we can draw a circle and designate that part of beach ours. Just temporarily, just for that point of time. And we can have it as a heart shape instead of a circle. We can bring candles in and surround ourselves with candles, which is absolutely beautiful for a sunset ceremony. Top tip, don't have a bare flame. Bare flame will get blown out with the first puff of wind. So make sure you or your celebrant has got the candles in lanterns. So we can create some wonderful spaces for you. And I've actually officiated elopements in castles, palaces, on a cliff top, many, many different locations. And if you're thinking of having a micro wedding, where you just bring your VIPs with you, the very important people that are essential to you for your wedding, you can now widen the possibilities of your location. So it could be that with your elopement or your micro wedding, you want to have your ceremony at an art gallery or a museum or in a natural park somewhere out in public space. And because you're not actually taking up that space for an official event, more often than not, you don't need a license. Now, as your celebrant, I will check that out for you, whichever location we're going to. And obviously, you must obey whatever the rules are of the location that you're in. For example, right here now in Spain, it's incredibly hot and no fires are permitted out in the countryside. So no way would I be lighting candles for you. No matter how romantic you thought they would be, that is an absolute no-no. So we will respect the rules and the regulations of the area that you're in. But what I'm saying is an elopement or a micro wedding opens up your venue and your location possibilities, whether you're in the UK or whether you're coming out to a destination wedding. So that's one of the benefits. Now, the other benefit is an elopement or a micro wedding, hardly any guests, not much catering, low budget or lower budget. So if you found that because of this year, perhaps you may have lost some money along the way, for whatever reason with your rescheduled wedding, you might find that you don't have the budget that you had for your initial preparations and your original celebrations, but you still have a budget for a wedding ceremony, then consider an elopement or consider a micro wedding. I'm going to tell you in a little while how you can extend that to your wider guest list, so you can still have your original guest list, but you've got a really scaled down wedding. So if you've got fewer people, then you can have a chat with your caterer and you can perhaps afford things that you wouldn't have been able to afford before, even with your lower budget. So you might be able to upscale your menu choices. You might be able to afford real champagne rather than cava or a sparkling wine, for example, a Prosecco. So you might be able to afford some luxuries, something really special that you couldn't have afforded with your original wedding ceremony. So it is worth considering. More venue choice, lower budget, lower guest list. Now, a smaller guest list at a micro wedding also means less stress, fewer people to please. If you have people with a lot of dietary considerations, when you have a big wedding, that can be pretty tricky. So if you've only got 6, 8, 10 people coming to your wedding, you can have a menu that's going to suit everybody. So that's just one of the things that helps take some of the stress away. You haven't got so many people to please. Decision making becomes a whole lot easier when there are fewer people involved, trust me. Also, less responsibility. As a bride or a groom, you don't want to have a lot of responsibility on your special day. And if it's a micro wedding, you'll find again that you're far more relaxed than if you're going to be at a ceremony in front of, say, 200 people. Again, I mentioned theatrics and being on stage. Having your wedding ceremony can feel like that to some people. So if you've got something that's much more personal, much more intimate, much more intense and all about you, then you'll find that you're more relaxed. And of course, every single person there is witness to the vows that you are making to each other. So whether it's an elopement or whether it's a micro wedding, you'll find that what you're saying, again, I keep using the word intense, it really is an intense experience. An elopement is no less valuable or powerful or special than a huge, great big wedding with, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds spent on it. It can be, oof. Do you know what? When you get to the ceremony part, when you get to the part where you're saying your vows, I bet you will have a freeze frame moment. I bet you will gaze into the eyes of the person you are committing your life to and affirming your vows with, and I bet you will forget about the beautiful flowers, the fantastic wedding cake and the location that you're in. For that freeze frame moment where you are saying your vows to each other, nothing else will matter. You'll just be gazing into the eyes of the person that you love, and that is the heart, that is the epicenter of your wedding. So can you see how an elopement or a micro wedding can be just as special and just as valuable and just as intense as any great big wedding with lots of show and lots of opulence and lots of extravagance? So elopements and micro weddings. Music as well, that can be really important just to bring in, to get some ambience into your ceremony. Music evokes emotion, music evokes memories. How often do you hear something on the radio and you think, oh yes, I remember when, blah, 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 and you visualize yourself the last time you heard that music or the first time you heard that music. So my advice to you is try and incorporate music into a small wedding. I did a elopement? Yes, it was an elopement. Quite recently, and we had a guitarist. He was a Spanish guitarist. It was just me, the couple, the Spanish guitarist and the photographer. And I chatted to the couple beforehand and I knew the music that they liked. So he played something very pertinent, very special to the bride as she made her entrance. And then the other bride who was waiting with me, it was lovely. It was like, ooh, goosebumps seeing all of this happen, and you could see in their faces what they were reminded of by the music that was playing. And then he continued to play throughout the ceremony, just very quietly. It was music that they liked. And then we had a louder music, a louder song for the recessional, for when they both exited. That can be a tricky moment. If you've got an elopement or a micro wedding with very few people, perhaps only your two witnesses, if you've got the moment where you say, yes, you may kiss the groom, you may kiss the bride, usually at a great big wedding, everybody goes, yay, stands up and claps, and there's this fantastic feeling of, woo, they've done it. At an elopement, if it's just the two of you, what happens? You know, you can kiss the bride and then what? So as a celebrant, as a wedding officiant, it's my job to make sure that you have that really good feel-good moment. And usually I've got a couple of surprises up my sleeve. So it could be a special little hand-painted wedding cake that we've got for you that you weren't expecting. Or it could be that we bring in a musician for you, just a little something, so you can have your first dance together. And yes, even though you're socially distanced as the bridal couple, you can have your first dance together, so don't worry about that. Okay, I can see time's getting on, so hopefully by now I've convinced you that an elopement or a micro wedding is a great idea. So how can you extend it to your wider guest list? Live streaming. I'm an online wedding officiant as well, so I have officiated quite a number of ceremonies using the computer, using various platforms. Now, did you know that if you live stream your ceremony, you can actually do it through Guides for Brides? Guides for Brides have their own featured platform. So what I will do when I'm able to post comments a little bit later on this afternoon, I will put a link into the comments here so that you can find all the information for the Guides for Brides live streaming platform. Now, this goes through Zoom, so of course, if you wanted to, you could Zoom your own wedding ceremony. And what does this do? What does live streaming and Zooming do? Well, I'm now talking to you kind of one-to-one, but I'm not. I know that the past 4 speakers have had almost 300 people attending their video, attending their live stream, their live on Facebook. And you can do that with your wedding. So you can have your intimate elopement ceremony, you can have your intimate micro wedding, but you can live stream it at the same time to all those people that perhaps can't be with you for very valid reasons. It could be that not only are they VIPs, as in very important people, but they might be vulnerable important people as well. Perhaps your grandparents can't travel to be with you. Perhaps there are people that have health issues that can't travel to be with you. And perhaps it is that word travel. Perhaps you can't travel. Perhaps the guests cannot travel to be with you, or they cannot have a quarantine situation when they return home. So what you can do is you can invite them to your online ceremony that can be live streamed as the very moment that you are saying your vows. It can be done by your videographer. So have a chat with your videographer. They can do that for you professionally. You can do that through the Guides for Brides live streaming platform. Again, that's very professional. I would advise that you're not in charge of that at the moment of the ceremony, that you do designate someone else to host that for you and be in charge of who's going to be attending. Likewise, if you go through Zoom, again, I suggest that you designate somebody else to be the host of that broadcast of your live wedding ceremony, because you're going to be in the moment, you're going to be saying your vows, you don't want to be having a look to see if there's anybody stuck in the waiting room trying to get in. And the other thing you can do, like I'm doing right now, is you can come onto Facebook and you can create your own wedding Facebook group. So you can go live into Facebook. That is probably the cheapest way of live streaming your wedding, using Facebook to go live and to broadcast it. Now just be very, very careful that you're 100% sure you've got great internet connection, because there'd be nothing worse than losing your going live in Facebook right at the crucial moment when you're saying your I do's. So you can have your altar cam. I really don't mind if you want to have a beautifully decorated laptop on your altar with me. We can do that. I'm game for that. You can have your videographer doing it professionally for you. You can go through a number of live streaming platforms, including Guides for Brides, and you can do it through Instagram Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, lots of social media platforms, LinkedIn even will go live. But I would advise that you create a closed group, unless you are somebody that wants to go live with your profile to the whole world. You can do that if you want to too, of course. So that's an awful lot of information. We've talked about the difference between a marriage and a wedding, the difference between a registrar and the different celebrants. We've talked about the benefits of elopements and the benefits of having a really scaled down wedding. It's going to be so much easier for you. And if you are having a nearly wed day in place of your original wedding, why not just have a little ceremony with your wedding officiant, with your celebrant, and perhaps have a hand tying, and then you can take that ribbon through to your main wedding, your rescheduled wedding, your bigger wedding, with a proper hand fasting. I'm full of lots of ideas, so I'm going to love you and leave you before I bore you too much. My name is Debbie Skyrme. I am Celebrant Spain. I am in Spain, but I can officiate online wherever you are in the world. I'm at Celebrant Spain on all social media platforms, and my website is celebrantspain.es. .es for España, because that's where I am. I'm bilingual, I can bring some Spanish into your ceremony as well, and we have 320 days of sunshine, so I can pretty much guarantee you're going to have a sunny day for your wedding too. But wherever you have your wedding, have an absolutely beautiful one. Have a wonderful day, and remember that freeze frame moment right at the heart of your ceremony. That is the crux of it. That is the most important thing. So sending you lots and lots of love, and hopefully I will see you very soon. Thanks everyone. Bye.